Today's lesson is the Inquiry Lab found on page 411. So if you can please pull that out. And you will also need some algebra tiles, which I will show you about in just a minute, but they will be on your desks. Today we're going to revisit this idea of factoring a linear expression. So just as a review, when we are asked to factor something, this is a term you will be dealing with for the rest of your high school math. To factor something means to take a number, like 24, and to break it down into a multiplication problem. So we could factor 24 into 4 times 6. That's one way to factor it. We could also factor the number 24 into 2 times 12. That's the same process. So factoring is to take a number and to break it down into a multiplication problem. Okay? Alright. Max has enough 1-inch square glass tiles to create a rectangular piece of mosaic art that has an area of 24 inches. So everybody draw a rectangle. If we have this rectangular piece and it is 24 square inches, if you think about this, it says some of the possible dimensions of the rectangle are listed in the table. When you're talking about dimensions, you're talking about length and width. And if you remember from elementary school, the area, 24, is found by doing length times width. So really, to find these possible dimensions, we are really factoring. We're trying to figure out what could length and what could width be, so that when we multiply length times width, we get 24. Okay, so take just a minute to fill in this chart. 1 times 24 is 24. 8 times 3. What else could possibly go in there? Okay, so we've listed all of the factors of 24. Sometimes you know the product and you are asked to find the factors. This process is called factoring. Okay, so let's go down to this problem. We're going to use algebra tiles to factor 2x plus 6. And we're just getting into working with algebra tiles, but these long rectangular pieces are always going to represent an x. The small square pieces are always going to be 1s. So we take 2 x's and 6 1s, and to factor it, we want to do the same process as up here, is we want to put them together into a rectangular shape. So notice, I didn't need to draw that, this student has put them into a rectangular shape. So when they're in a rectangle with equal rows and columns, the total area is going to be our problem, 2x plus 6. And to factor it, we want to figure out what's the length and what's the width. Well, this length right here is x. And then we have 1, 2, 3. So it's x plus 3. This width right here has a width of 1, 2, of 2 units. Okay, so we would say that 2 times x plus 3 are our two factors that equal 2x plus 6. Okay, let's turn the page. In this example, the problem is 2x minus 8. So the only difference is we have our 2x's, but notice for negative 8, we're going to use these red tiles to represent negative. Okay, and we're going to try to position them around, moving them around to see if we can make them into a rectangle. Sure enough, we can. And then we're going to figure out what's the length and what's the width. So notice our length is x, and then 4 negatives is minus 4. And this width, this unit is 1, this unit is 1. So that's a width of 2. So down here, if we were to factor 2x minus 8, it would be 2, which is our width, times our length, which is x minus 4. Okay, so here's where you get your tiles out. So looking in your bins, you need to find 3 x's. So there's my 3 x's. And 6 negatives. So that's going to look like this. Okay, and you're going to try to position them and to rearrange them to see if we can make a rectangle. I'm going to turn them like this. Let's see if this will work. Okay, so here's my rectangle. So we're going to try to make a little sketch of it. I've got my 3 x's here. And I've got my 6 negative 1's. Okay, so to factor this, we want to figure out the length and the width. So the length is going to be x. Right here, this is x, and then negative 1 makes it x minus 2. And this width is 1, 2, 3. So if we take that down here to factor 3x minus 6, it's going to be 3 times the quantity of x minus 2. Okay, so you are going to work through this with a partner. So you're going to pause the video in just a minute. You're going to use your algebra tiles and you're going to try to factor them. So you're going to get your algebra tiles and do 4x plus 6, and you're going to see, can I arrange this into a rectangular pattern? Well, it's not going to work right there because that's definitely not a rectangle. So could we do something else to this? Well, I noticed that if I do this and this and put these two over here, is that a rectangle? Yep, it is. So the length is x plus x. So the length is 2x plus 3. And the width is 2. So we have now factored that. So I want you to work with your partners using your algebra tiles. Once you get it set up, then try to make the factoring expression. And I don't think you need to actually draw the models. Just build them and then do the factor. When you've got this page done, please show it to me to check out. And then you can turn to page 415 and 414, the next page, and begin working through that. Thanks.